So good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. Today is our first live broadcast for 2022, and we have the illustrious Michael Harriel of SoCal Gas. He's back with us today and one of our favorite people. So welcome, Mike, to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Wendy and Joy, for having me back. I appreciate it.
Of course. And so SoCal Gas is doing quite a bit in the world of renewable energy and hydrogen. So one of the first things I wanted to ask you was something you and I had talked about briefly that I still don't have a lot of information about, so I'm hoping you can fill in some of my gaps. Is it the Aspire 2045 goals?
Yeah, when I was on your program last, I announced the Aspire 2045 goals, which are both sustainability strategy. It's fundamental to our commitment to achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions in our operations and delivery of our energy by 2045, the year 2045. And I want to give you an update on our progress since we made that announcement. We recently released our white paper on sustainability and clean fuel strategy that offer an analysis for practical solutions for the hard to abate emissions sector. And it also supports California's climate and energy policies, including resiliency and reliable electrification. And I know you'll find that interesting. Um, but for California policymakers and advocates, the implications are clear. That first, we see that the electric and gas systems aren't competitors. Instead, they complement each other's strengths.
Yes.
Electrification combined with zero emissions fuels and carbon management delivers the most affordable, resilient, and technologically proven path to full carbon neutrality. Second, by leveraging the existing natural gas infrastructure to deliver clean fuels such as hydrogen and to manage carbon, California can actually reach 100% net zero goals more affordably, more equitably, and with less risk of power disruptions, customer conversion barriers, and technological limitations. And and lastly, rapidly scaling up clean fuels initiatives right now is vital to putting a clean fuels network in place in time to help California meet its climate goals. The faster stakeholders can collaboratively act to expand and accelerate clean fuels initiatives, the quicker California can decarbonize. And so, with all that in mind, we as a company, I kind of want to explain a little bit of what we're doing as a company, as SoCal Gas, to help California meet uh, those climate goals and the challenges associated with it. So we've begun purchasing 100% renewable electricity from the grid under the Edison Green Rate program for our facilities. We
Lovely.
we recently we announced a goal to achieve net zero energy for our newly constructed buildings and major renovations of buildings over 10,000 square feet by 2025 and 100% of all of our buildings by 2035. We're also transitioning our entire vehicle fleet to zero emission cars and trucks. So we're partnering with Hyzon Motors on a hydrogen powered fuel cell electric utility truck for our fleet. And we are in the process of replacing 50% of our over the road fleet with electric,
Love it.
hybrid, renewable natural gas, and fuel electric vehicles. And we expect to have all that completed by 2035. We've already submitted a charge ready transport application with SCE to install more than 100 new charging stations to support our electric vehicle charging infrastructure. And then, of course, RNG has an essential role, like other clean fuels and technologies like hydrogen and fuel cells, to create a carbon neutral California. And then, lastly, we're working with uh, Sunline Transit Agency to test two technologies that will produce hydrogen from renewable natural gas at the Sunline facility in Thousand Palms. And this project is called H2 Silver Stars, and it will produce renewable hydrogen, to fuel Sunland's fleet of 21 hydrogen fuel cell electric buses.
I love
So,
that.
as you can see, we're spearheading several hydrogen projects to produce green hydrogen, which again is critical for California to achieve net zero by 2045. And so that's just some of the things that we're doing. Um, we have the clean fuels report that's available. Your readers, your viewers can read it at socalgas.com/clean fuels if they have an interest.
I'm kind of blown away with how much you guys are doing. Joy, is your mind blown
Yeah,
right now?
it used to be that SoCal Gas was just a gas company, right? You know, you wanted gas to fuel up your stove, and if you were fortunate enough to have a gas fireplace, as I still do, that's what you just they were just a basic utility. But you know, now or as always, SoCal Gas has actually risen to the challenge. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Mike and his crew are always out in underserved areas, making sure that people understand the need for gas, understand their bills and their usage, as well as letting them know what the future holds for them as far as gas being their utility and some of the other energy efficiencies that that the gas company is taking on. So, you know, kudos, Mike, number one. And, you know, I just want you to give a broader picture of what you feel energy will look like in California. Because gas kind of got a bad rap, you know, over the last 4 years or so. But as I said, SoCal Gas has kind of risen to the challenge and shifted and navigated and make sure that their ratepayers are also navigating. So I'd really like to get like an inside view of what you think the energy field is going to look like in the near future here in California.
Yeah, that's a good question, Joy. And I want to mention that I'm really proud to be part of SoCal Gas and everything that they're doing, and that they allow us, our leadership allows us to do to make sure that we communicate to our customers, and I think it's really important, especially to our elderly customers. My mother is getting up there in years, and I worry about her and energy reliability, and I have young daughters, and I worry about them as well. So it's important to me that we do get our message out. To answer your question, the face of energy in California will be renewables. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be solar and wind. It's going to be hydrogen, renewable natural gas, microgrids, fuel cells, and these are all viable renewable sources of energy that will promote resiliency and also help California to reach its climate goals. But each of these is only a small piece of a larger pie in terms of a long-term solution. As I mentioned, we have a mission to be the cleanest, safest, most innovative energy company in America, and to achieve that net zero greenhouse gas emissions in our operations by 2045. And so we're partnering with the scientific communities on new technologies, which will include a new, less expensive electrolyzer, hard to say that word. An electrolyzer is a device that produces green hydrogen from water and renewable electricity. So bringing that price down will start to make hydrogen a lot more affordable for folks. We're looking at development of a hydrogen demonstration home, and I know that's one of Wendy's favorite things.
It is. I'm so excited about the hydrogen house.
She wants to go to the hydrogen house. So as soon as it's up and built, I'll make sure you get an invite. But it will display the next generation of technology incorporating an electrolyzer, a battery, solar, and fuel cell, because we need all of these. We can't just focus on one particular technology. Again, we're funding research and development of hydrogen to fuel commercial transportation, and we're working with Bloom Energy on microgrids, not only for the entire state, but we have microgrids up and running at our SoCal Gas facilities right now. So,
Wow.
I mean, this is a technology that is available now that can be put to use.
And just to add in, when you said energy diversification and microgrids, that is the keystone for resiliency. Because if we only have one form of energy, one source of energy, one gigantic grid, we'll fail. And that has happened in the past. I know that you and I spoke about the Woolsey fire, and there were some issues with resiliency and getting the water pumps to work because we lost electricity. I don't know the full details on that, so please don't grill me, but I understand that's exactly what happened. And I think if we had alternative energy sources, maybe, perhaps, possibly, we could have avoided some of that.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we released our study on lessons in resiliency planning to help communities and utilities prepare for disasters. And, today, many industries are actually following those recommendations. And, resiliency becomes a problem when we have things like wildfires or fires or the power shutoffs, which occur. And I understand why they occur. The safety reasons why.
Yeah,
so I understand why they occur, but it's an inconvenience when it does happen. And so when the power is shut off because of any of these particular events, what do businesses do? Cities, they still have to run, they still have to operate.
Yeah.
As you mentioned with the Woolsey fire, all the power was shut off, for safety reasons. But a lot of the water pumps ran only on electricity, so then they couldn't pump the water. So what we're starting to see for resiliency, of course, is microgrids, natural gas generators, which are amazing. They connect to your existing natural gas system. When the electricity goes off, they automatically come on, and they can power your home. Fuel cells, a lot of hospitals. You think about hospitals. If a power goes off at a hospital and they need those life support equipment, what are they going to do? So they have to
Diesel.
Yeah. Well, and diesel kind of defeats the purpose of climate change.
Oh, yes.
So, so you have fuel cells, you have natural gas generators, even in private homes. Some folks have to have life support equipment that operates constantly.
Yep.
But if the power goes off, what are they going to do? So again, natural gas generators, fuel cells, microgrids, all those things play a part in making sure that just because the electricity goes off doesn't mean that you still can't have electricity, or they turn the electricity off, you still can't have it, because we rely on electricity. When we flip that switch,
we take it for granted.
There's a piece of power. And
if your internet box, if the
not the internet,
if that goes out, it feels like you're dying.
Yeah.
Right? It's just amazing how reliant we are on our utilities.
And we don't even think about it. We take it for
we take it totally for granted, and not thinking that it could one day not be there, or the source cannot be there, because we've either overused it, or we didn't plan with the infrastructure, or.
I'm so glad you mentioned infrastructure. One of the things I wanted to ask Mike about, with respect to energy diversification, electricity needs a ton of batteries. Batteries are an issue. We have limited resources for making the batteries. That being said, everything with electric is usually above ground. Wires are above ground. Gas is below ground. Now, I know existing natural gas pipes will be replaced with hydrogen. That needs a little retrofitting due to the chemistry involved. But underground seems to make a little bit of sense to me, with respect to when a natural disaster happens, catastrophic event happens, it won't be as vulnerable. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, that is, when the Woozy fire occurred, our crews kind of worked hand in hand with the fire department, and the fire department was directing us when to shut down gas to particular areas. Other than that, if we didn't do that, all those areas would still have gas.
Yeah.
And there were quite a few areas, and speaking of Malibu, there were quite a few areas in Malibu that had natural gas, and folks were able to cook, and they were able to still have hot water. They would light their pilots themselves, and they would still be able to sustain themselves that way. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's our infrastructure. Being underground, it has it's not so susceptible to disasters. Wind, doesn't affect it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Fires don't normally affect it. Um, Mudslides can,
That's true.
if,
Yeah.
depending on how severe it is. But for the most part, yeah, the gas system is very resilient and very reliable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a supporter of all things energy, all forms of energy, and resiliency is hugely important, especially in Malibu and other places where, I mean, even in Los Angeles where there's high winds and the electricity gets shut off. I know at least 24 people that have gotten diesel generators out of necessity because their power gets shut off repeatedly. And that is really working against the grain on what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
I mean, that's just a simple observation out of my simple little head there. But Joy, I don't know if you want to ask anything about further questions on Bloom Energy or other things going on, because I tend to dominate and I do apologize.
No. But Bloom, it's definitely been on the radar to watch for like the last 8 to 10 years. And the fact that SoCal Gas is partnering with them, as well as a lot of the different things that you guys are jointly doing in the community, like with Cal Poly, to really promote cleaner and more renewable energy is great. Are there any other great partnerships that you have? When I first got in the business, it's so funny. When I first got in the business, your facility down in Downey used to host
Right.
all of those events. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they used to have like all different types of companies that would come and represent, set up booths. I mean, it used to be like a 500-person event, and they would host an all-day symposium, allowing people to present their white papers for different type of energy projects. And it was just like state of the art at the time. And, just to watch you guys move through this whole process, and not just, have symposiums or seminars, but actually out there doing the work with smaller companies, it's pretty amazing. You
That's
guys
our,
are utilities, I have to say.
that's our Energy Resource Center in Downey, and that is where the hydrogen house will be built, Wendy. And
So excited.
calm down. and
I'm like
once
5 years old right now.
once COVID gets out of here, we'll get back to those again. And one thing I wanted to mention about that facility, which is something that means a lot to our restaurateurs, is if we purchase all of the latest and greatest natural gas equipment for restaurants, and we allow restaurateurs to come down and play with the technology before they buy it. Because what businesses, they're making a huge investment in restaurants, and they want to make sure a piece of equipment works before they purchase it. So they can come down, they can cook, they can inspect it, they can do all those things that they need to do before they actually sign on the dotted line with that particular manufacturer to purchase that equipment and get it in their restaurant. Because the last thing you want is to buy something and then find out it doesn't work.
Or spend a ton of money and realize it's not what you want.
Right. And so that's just one aspect of what that facility does. Really proud of the Energy Resource Center and all the things that we do. We provide seminars and symposiums for free, for industries. I send out invites periodically when we have things that are going on. Now a lot of the sessions are virtual, but when they're in person, they're spectacular.
I'm really looking forward to that. We need to get this COVID thing over because I want to see you guys in person. I want to go to these events. I want to learn everything there is about all forms of energy. And thank you guys so much. This has been hugely educational. Again, energy diversification. We've got to have all hands on deck. If we're going to make that 2030, 2045 goal, we got to work together. We're all heading in the same direction. Let's not infight, because energy is energy and we all have to do this together. So I thank you for that. And anytime you want to come back, and please do. And more importantly, when that hydrogen house is up, you better let me know, because I will be first in line.
You will get the first invite from me.
Aw.
Yeah, Downey's kind of like a Disneyland for environmentalists. So
Oh yeah.
it's a huge facility.
No way.
And yeah, it's a nice adult playground for energy professionals
and environmentalists, because it's a green building, and so yeah.
I am even more excited than I was even 10 seconds ago. So you guys have really riled me up. Okay, guys. Thank you all so much. Take care. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks
Have
for
a
having
good
me.
night.
Already.